and talk fantasy football. Let me adjust the old camera here for my friends. And Spencer here with the wager, guys. And I am here to talk about week 1 fantasy football. Week 1 DFS plays. So this is kind of an impromptu live. So I'm going to kind of log on here. Let me mute my own computer so I don't hear myself because that's annoying. And I'm going to get right into it. So there's a lot of things going on. I know that it's a little early for some week 1 DFS plays, but I know a lot of people had some lineups that were reserved early. I know that we have backfield is a absolute mess. There's no Zach Moss. There are a lack of other, or there's just a big set of question marks that are going on over there. But I want to dive right in. So I primarily play on Draftkings formats. I've been pretty successful doing it. And I'm going to dive into some quarterbacks that I like for, we're going to start with quarterbacks, then go into running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then last but not least, I'll tackle defenses. So diving right into it, and if anybody has any questions throughout the way, feel free to throw them out there. But this is primarily going to be live just for daily fantasy sports stuff. Like I said, primarily DraftKings. Starting right in, Lamar Jackson at 8,000. He is probably the only time that I'm going to be willing to spend $8,000 for a quarterback this year, unless there's another smash matchup. But his price point was all the way up to 8,400 last year, and seeing Lamar Jackson priced at 8,000 going into the season against Houston, it's kind of a show me game. Not so much for Lamar Jackson, but more of getting a guy like Zay Flowers involved, getting a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., where he's going to have a show me game, where I think that a momentum game like that is going to be really, really important for him. Getting Rashad Bateman back is going to be important. J.K. Dobbins, I mean, that entire offense looks the same but looks different, right? So at 8,000, I think that he's an MVP candidate possibly. I think that the Ravens are going to have a great balanced offense throughout the year, but this might be the cheapest price point that we can get Lamar Jackson for the entire season. Trevor Lawrence at 6,500. They're playing against Indy. He's got a new toy that he's going to throw to. He was phenomenal last year. I think that that's just going to continue to. I think that's going to continue to keep up, and I don't see any reason that adding Calvin Ridley to a guy like Trevor Lawrence is going to hurt his offensive abilities there. I think that he's going to be closer to a $7,000 quarterback price point pretty much through the rest of the season. I don't think Travis Etienne is going to be taking away a lot of his value. I think that, again, adding a guy like Calvin Ridley only opens up for Christian Kirk, which only opens up for Evan Ingram and some of their other role-playing guys. I think that just the game already looked like it was slowing down for him last year, and at 6,500, I think that it's a pretty good price point for a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Kirk Cousins at 6,300. I'm really just not a believer in the Bucs secondary, right? So Tampa's got a vulnerable secondary. Anytime that you have a guy like Justin Jefferson that you can throw the ball to, Kirk Cousins has that camaraderie, and he's got that connection with them. That's why he was the number 1 receiver in the league last year. And he's got TJ Hawkinson for the entire season this time, right? So TJ Hawkinson at a good price point that we'll talk at tight ends later. TJ Hawkinson had multiple 10-plus catch games last season. There's no Dalvin Cook. So no Dalvin Cook. I don't believe that they're going to be just feeding Madison. I think that he's going to be more of a change of pace. We're running the ball because we need to run the ball type thing. So I think that at 6,300, I think he's kind of a really good upside play for week 1 there. Desmond Ridder at 4,900. He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions thrown for his last game of the season. Baker Mayfield at 4,900. I think that we're just going to be playing from behind, and Baker's going to be airing the ball out. Mike Evans is on pace to try to be the first one in history, I think, to have 11 1,000-yard seasons in a row. As long as he stays healthy, they're going to kind of feed that. And I think that Howell for Washington, for the Commanders at 4,900. His only start last season, he had 19.3 points. Yeah, it sucks that Terry McLaurin got hurt, but I think Jahan Dotson, and he's got some other veterans like Logan Thomas that he can kind of rely on in that offense as well. I think that at 4,900, that's going to be a pretty good price point if you're really trying to salary save on the quarterback side. Going into running backs, I'm probably paying up for Nick Chubb in week one. He's at 8,200, but the last time that they had a game against Cincinnati when they played at home, he scored 28.4 fantasy points. So anytime that you can get 28.4 fantasy points now, is he going to repeat that? I don't know. They went on the road and he only put up, I think, like 10, right? But anytime that you've got a guy that has that type of upside value, especially when he's playing at home, he's got Deshaun Watson behind him, who's going to be thrown to Amari Cooper. It's going to kind of keep that field open. And losing Kareem Hunt is a win for fantasy owners involving Nick Chubb, right? So is he a little bit on the pricier side than I'd like to be? Yeah, I don't typically love spending up at my running back positions, but at 8,200, I think that he's probably priced appropriately and still has upside and value there. Bijan Robinson is a guy that I want to go after, right? So he's at 8,000 on the nose. The last rookie that was drafted, or the last rookie that was taken in the first round, finished the season top 5 in fantasy points for running backs, right? At 8,000, I don't see a scenario where he's not going to get 25 touches in his first game. I don't know where Ritter's going to be at in that offense, but I do know that they didn't draft a guy like Robinson and paid him $10 million as a rookie to come in and to not be a show pony. If you look at what like Adrian Peterson did his rookie season, this guy's NFL ready. I mean, everything that he's got going at 8,000, it might be the cheapest that we see him all season because we know that that volume's going to be there in Atlanta. They didn't draft him in the first round not to just use and abuse him. And he was an early first round draft pick, right? J.K. Dobbins at 6,600. He's going to be more involved in the pass game this year, which part of the reason that I kind of like Lamar Jackson as well. It's just one more area that Lamar Jackson's going to have that he can throw. J.K. Dobbins not necessarily known for his pass catching abilities. However, he's hinted, and so is the Baltimore offense, that he is going to be more involved in the passing game. So I think at 6,600, just on his running abilities alone, if he's healthy, he's shown that he can be a upside RB. So I think incorporating him into that pass game as well at 6,600 is going to be a great spot for him. James Conner is probably going to be the guy that I smash the most at 6,400. His last 7 games, he averaged 18.8 points, fantasy points. That was with no Kyler Murray. So if we don't have Kyler Murray, we know that Kyler Murray is not playing this whole season. We don't know who our quarterback situation is even going to be in Arizona. The only consistent thing there is going to be James Conner. And James Conner has consistently taken that role when he's needed to be the number one guy, and he's excelled with it. He finds ways to score. He catches balls in the backfield. He somehow still manages to get between the tackles. And as long as he stays healthy, he's so consistent with the volume that he has there. So I think at 6,400, just from a volume standpoint, you're going to see me with a lot of James Conner. Kenny Walker at 6,000, I think he's going to be huge volume potential early in the season. I know that they drafted another running back in the draft. However, I think that early in the season, when you draft a secondary running back as a rookie that's not really there to take over the starting jobs, be more of a compliment. I think that early in the season, we can see them leaning on Kenneth Walker. Javonte Williams is kind of my flyer play. So he's 5,700, but I know he's going to have limited usage. But he has so much upside. So what does limited usage mean? Does that mean he's going to get 10 touches? Does that mean he's going to get 15 touches? Is it going to be a snap count, not a touch count? I don't know. All I know is that week 1 last year, he put up 20 fantasy points. And with Russell Wilson already being without Jerry Jeudy, I think that they're going to need a playmaker like Javonte Williams. And at 5,700 points in a tournament play, if people are hesitant because they think that he's not going to get the same usage because he might be on a pitch count or a snap count or whatever the case may be, I think that when he does get the ball, it's going to be with a purpose and he's going to be making things happen. 5,700, I think he could be a tournament winner there. Miles Sanders at 5,600 for volume purposes, I like, and Antonio Gibson at 5,200. He's a guy that every year at the end of the year ends up finishing as a top 30 running back. And yeah, he's in a split backfield, but I think that for week 1 purposes especially, I think that there's enough ball to go around to Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. And I just think Antonio Gibson's price point is probably the better of all those situations. Going into wide receivers, this is probably one of the few weeks that I'm going to pay up for Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson at 8,800, right? You got to pay up somewhere. I mean, I guess you don't have to pay up anywhere. But if I'm going to pay up, I think that his price point is going to be similar to like what Christian McCaffrey is. He's going to be in that high 8, but really he's probably going to be in the low to mid 9s all season. So if you're touching a guy like McCaffrey, if you're touching a guy like Justin Jefferson, if you find yourself stuck paying up for Kelsey, you're really looking to save that couple $100 in your salary cap. And I think that in week one, Justin Jefferson is being actually undervalued going up against a really, really bad Bucks secondary, especially. I just don't see anybody on the Bucks that can cover him. There's not going to be any one-on-one situations for him, but I just don't think it matters. I think his size and speed that he's going to be able to exploit the Bucks secondary, and I think Justin Jefferson might put up 150 yards and 2 touchdowns on us. And that's coming from a Bucks fan, so it hurts for me to have to say that out loud. DK Metcalf at 7,000. I like where his price point's at. Calvin Ridley is a guy that I think is just the fact that he came out priced at 6,500 for week one. I don't know again if this is another show me game. He was suspended last year. He's in a better offensive situation. He's got a better quarterback situation. He's got better role players that are around him. And we forget that Calvin Ridley, or maybe we don't forget, but Calvin Ridley was considered a top 5 wide receiver only 2 years ago. So why do we give all this credit to Odell Beckham when he went through all these catastrophic injuries like he's going to be the best? Calvin Ridley is ridiculously talented, and at 6,500, I don't understand why he's valued so low. And again, the Colts historically tend to be a better defense, but that team right now is in absolute turmoil. It's going to be the Anthony Richardson show, and I think that Calvin Ridley going into a new situation, a fresh start with a third-year Trevor Lawrence who just thrived last year. I think this is the ultimate welcome home, let's break it out type game. DJ Moore at 6,100. He burned a lot of people last year when he was in Carolina. He gets traded over to Chicago. Justin Fields kind of got the reins taken off of him finally and was able to show why he's that guy. Justin Fields is so athletic. And with DJ Moore burning me so much last year, I still think at 6,100 that's the price point that I want him to be at. I think that throughout the season, I think we're going to see more of the 100 catch, 1,300 yard guy that DJ Moore probably should have been last year if he was in a better offensive spot. But I think that at 6,100, I think that we're probably going to see him priced closer to 65 for the rest of the season. So I think he's a little undervalued there. Mike Williams at 5,700. I just always want a piece of that offense. If I can get a piece of the Chargers, I'm probably looking for the best value. Keenan Allen's going to be significantly more expensive. Mike Williams is going to be a little bit more on the boom bust side. But if you want a piece of that offense, Mike Williams is probably the guy to have. You save $1,000 in salary, and he has that 25 point potential. Drake London's another guy. You know, he gets compared talent-wise to Chris Olave all the time. Yeah, maybe he's not in as good of an offensive situation. However, at 5,400, I think that he showed how talented and explosive that he could be last year. And I think for that price point for DFS purposes, he's saving you so much salary, and he's got wide receiver 1 potential. Again, he's another high draft pick that's still really waiting to kind of come out and explode. And he just didn't have the same opportunities last year. I think that the Falcons are finally going to throw the ball a little bit more. They had some quarterback issues last year, right? Marcus Mariota wasn't that guy, quits on the team. It was a weird situation, but he's in a much better spot, and he gets a full training camp with who he knows is going to be his starting quarterback. So I like Drake London at 5,400. Carroll Sutton at 5,200. The ball's got to go somewhere, right? They brought in Russell Wilson. They paid so much capital for Russell Wilson that Carroll Sutton has to be his weapon, right? Marvin Mims is the only other guy that could come in and demand some volume, and he's going to be a week 1 rookie that probably was going to be wide receiver 3 until Jerry Jeudy went down. Looking at the cuts, the Broncos only kept 4 wide receivers. So Carroll Sutton's definitely going to be the number 1 there. I don't think that they're going to be able to exploit the run game as much with Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams super early into the season. And I think when push comes to shove, they still have to trust Russell Wilson to be that guy for them because that's what they're paying him to be there for. So I think at 5,200, Carroll Sutton is a guy that really should be priced closer to 6,000 based on just how much time he's going to have on the field and the amount of volume that I think that he's going to demand in the pass game. And he's coming into another healthy year, so I like him at 5,200. Odell Beckham at 5,000 I don't think is a bad spot. Again, I mentioned it earlier that it's kind of a show-me game for him. Jahan Dotson at 5,000. I liked him at this price point even before Terry McLaurin got hurt. Now that Terry McLaurin is not playing, Jahan Dotson easily becomes their number one option. So at 5,000, you're getting a number one receiver that I already liked anyway, but now because of injury of Terry McLaurin, he's the guy that's going to be able to catch all the screen passes. He's a guy that's going to run slot. He can run deep routes. Jahan Dotson is going to be a playmaker. At 5,000, that's a great price point if you're trying to save money at receiver and you wanted to spend up at quarterback or you wanted to spend up at running back, right? Adam Thielen at 4,600. I think it's just nice to have a veteran presence when you've got a young quarterback like Bryce Young that's going to be out there. In the preseason, he showed that he still had a little bit of wheels. He said he's the healthiest that he's felt in a long time going into a season. We'll see if that means anything, but I think at least going into it early into the season, it's going to carry a little bit of weight. I think that Mingo could be a good flyer play at 3,200. I'm not trying to put all my money into rookies, but I think at 3,200 for tournament purposes, Mingo is going to be it, and I think you could say the same for Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is going to be the number 2 receiver on a probably pretty bad Colts offense, but again, Anthony Richardson's going to go through some growing pains, and he's going to have Alec Pierce right out there for probably 90% of the snaps. So there's going to be opportunities, or at minimum, at least balls and targets thrown his way. I think that at 3,200, he's shown that he's capable of being a minimum of a 5-catch, 50-yard type guy. And I think that he could probably get even more than that once they get into a real game flow and it's not all preseason and stuff like that. You could maybe make an argument for Josh Downs if you want. It sounds like he's going to be wide receiver 3 on that team. I don't know if he's going to get as many snaps depending on the types of sets that they run. However, that offense could look completely different because a lot of that was based on there being a Jonathan Taylor there who's not going to be there. Zach Moss is also injured, so who knows who's even going to be the starting running back week 1 for the Colts. And Zay Flowers at 4,000, I think that everybody was really impressed with him in training camp. And again, Baltimore's wide receiver core is almost like starting over. Odell Beckham's brand new. Zay Flowers is the new toy that they drafted, and Rashad Bateman's coming back from an injury, right? So the only consistency from last year on that team that basically played the entire season is Mark Andrews. I think that in a soft Houston matchup, Lamar Jackson's going to want to get everybody involved, and I wouldn't be shocked if they put up 45 points in that game against Houston. So I think that Zay Flowers at 4,000 if you're looking to save money. Again, be on the side of caution when you're dealing with rookies because you just don't know how involved they're going to be week 1 into the offense. However, I think that in that particular situation, it's just such a good matchup for them that I think that you can save a lot of money and you can spend up elsewhere, and he's going to be worth a flyer play because at least you know he's going to be out on the field and probably be targeted a couple times. Going into the tight end section, Hawkinson at 5,900. Again, he had 96 receptions last year. They're going up against a bad Bucs defense, or at least I think they're going to be a bad Bucs defense. Again, it hurts me to say that because I'm a Bucs fan. And he started the season in Chicago. And once he got to Minnesota, he had multiple 10 plus catch games. I think he even had a 13 catch game. With no Dalvin Cook, that's just less touches for the backfield because I think that those are all just going to get incorporated into the passing game. So I think that's just going to be more for TJ Hawkinson. I think that's going to be more for Justin Jefferson. It's going to be more for Addison, who's going to be the rookie. But I think that at least week 1, you're going to see a lot of Justin Jefferson and a lot of Hawkinson. I don't even mind a Cousins, Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson stack and then just figure the rest out later because I think there's going to be enough balls to go around and enough value for your week 1 there. Is it going to be a popular stack? Probably, which is kind of why I look at like Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham stack at like 8,000, 5,000, or you could do, the Zay Jones stack, however you wanted to look at it that way. But you just want to at least have a piece of those offenses going. Tyler Higbee at 4,800. So it's going to be a bad year for the Rams. I just don't think they're going to be any good. But Tyler Higbee is going to be receiver 2, and he's the tight end. Outside of Cooper Kupp, there's nobody else on that roster that I can even really name, or at least that I would want to name or have involved. Tyler Higbee, I mean, they signed him to that $50 million contract. This is his 3rd year of it. He's developed with Matt Stafford, and I genuinely think that he's going to be the second option behind Cooper Kupp, and being the second option, I think that he's priced as the second option. But anytime you can get a tight end that can get you 60, 70 yards and a touchdown, and you're getting them under 5,000, I think that you're going to pull the trigger because you at least know that his volume's going to be there, and there's no competition for Tyler Higbee at tight end there. So I think at 4,800, he's going to be a good DK play for week 1. Gerald Everett at 4,300. Again, this goes back to I just want a piece of the Chargers offense. If I'm not willing to pay up for Keenan Allen, if I'm not willing to pay for Mike Williams, who I think is undervalued, then I still want a piece of that offense if I don't want to pay up for Herbert or if I don't want to pay for Austin Eckler. I'm going to go Gerald Everett at 4,300. At minimum, you know that he's going to be out there for the red zone all the time. He had, I think, 60 or 70 grabs last year. And again, he's got no competition at tight end, so you at least know he's going to be on the field. So the volume for snaps at least are going to be there. Juwan Johnson at 3,900. We're starting to get on the lower end of the tight ends here. But I think that he gets a quarterback upgrade for a guy that still played pretty well. And Derek Carr has shown that he likes to rely on his tight ends. So I think at 3,900, I like him for the entire year. And I also think that going into week one, this is a guy that you can target. Cade Otton at 3,300. There's no tight end competition in Tampa. It's not going to be O'Keefe. It can only be Cade Otton, and you know he's going to be on the field for probably 100% of the time as long as he's not wore out. He's in pass plays. He's in run protection. They might even be able to run screens to him. It's not like Baker Mayfield just ignores the tight end position. He's looked good in preseason, and he's got nobody else that's going to take any of those first offensive team snaps. So Cade Otton at 3,300 in a offensive scheme that he's already familiar with, I think is going to be pretty good value for you. The last thing you need to finish off your teams for week one DK is going to be your defenses. There's really only 3 defenses that I'm targeting. I'm targeting the Jags at 3,500 because they're going up against a rookie quarterback in a situation that is already a terrible spot for him to be in. I'm going with the Falcons at 3,200, and I'm going with the Commanders at 2,800. I really like the Commanders just because you want to talk about a soup sandwich over there in Arizona. They still don't know who their week one quarterback is going to be, and we don't have any more preseason games left to go. So, oh, hey, Shelly. How are you? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. I filmed this live just so I could get it out there, and if anybody had any questions, if you have any questions on your Draftkings, go ahead and drop it in the comments section after I end this video. I will be super happy to get into it, touch base with you, and answer as many questions as I can. I plan on doing a couple of videos a week, one for your season long, one for your Draftkings, and I'll probably do one that incorporates some sports betting picks and stuff like that going into the season. So good luck. Drop your comments. Make sure you like the video and let us know what I can do differently for you. Have a good night.